Shanna here. Welcome to my channel all about finding joy while learning to live well with autoimmunity. I am so glad to have you here. So today I'm going to be talking about AIP Lifestyle. So a lot of times when people think about the autoimmune protocol, AIP, they focus on the nutrition side of the AIP. And while the nutrition side of the AIP is incredibly important, the lifestyle side of AIP is also important. And so one of the first things I look at when a client or somebody tells me that the AIP doesn't work is I ask them about the AIP lifestyle factors. And so today I'm going to be introducing you to each of the AIP lifestyle factors and talking a little bit about each one. So just a reminder, the autoimmune protocol AIP is a way of eating and living specifically designed for those of us with autoimmunity to help us maximize immune health and minimize our autoimmune symptoms. Pretty awesome. The AIP has been a complete game changer in my life as I live with Hashimoto's. So first AIP lifestyle factor I want to talk about is stress. So stress has such an incredibly harmful effect on our health and wellness, especially on those of us with autoimmunity. So many of us live in chronic stress and we don't realize the stress we're under or the impact it's having on our health. And if you're thinking, Shanna, I'm living with autoimmunity, this is stressful. I don't know if I'm ever going to feel better. My symptoms are horrible. They're stressing me out. I wake up and I realize the nightmare I'm living every day. I don't know if I'm going to get my life back. Shanna, I know I need to change the way I eat and the way I live and the way I think, but I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I have addictions and cravings that I've had for decades. How can I break those? This feels too hard. Okay, I just want you to know I understand. I've been there. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's at 36 and I had habits I had to break and it's hard, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you that it's easy and that it's a walk in the park, but I am going to stand here and tell you it is possible. It's hard, but it's possible. I just want to emphasize the importance of bio-individuality, meaning each of us are different. The AIP nutrition, it's going to look different for each of us. We each have different nutrient needs. We each have different macro balancing needs. We each have different nutrient deficiencies or gut issues that we need to work on and fine tune. And I think that's a beautiful thing. How boring would it be if we were all the same? Just as it's so important that we focus on bio-individuality and how we eat, it's important that we focus on bio-individuality and how we live. Each of our stress levels are different, and each of us need to set different boundaries in our life to help relieve that stress. Each of us have to figure out what helps us reduce stress. What helps me reduce stress may look differently than what helps you reduce stress. Please just keep in mind that this journey is your own. It's not going to look like mine. It's not going to look like anybody else's. We may have things in common, right? But each of us are different. So embrace that and find what works for you. One more word on the importance of stress. So when we are under stress, we are in a sympathetic state. When we are not, we are in a parasympathetic state. And in the parasympathetic state is when digestion happens optimally. It's when healing happens in our parasympathetic state. And so it's really incredibly important that we are in a parasympathetic state. So stay tuned. I'll have a video more on stress, on how to trigger that parasympathetic state, ideas for reducing stress in the coming weeks. Next, AIP lifestyle factor that is so incredibly important when it comes to health and wellness: sleep. Sleep is when the magic happens. It's so incredibly important not only to get a good quantity of sleep, but to get a good quality of sleep too. So Shanna, why is sleep so important? What does it support? So getting plenty of quality sleep supports proper digestion, it supports blood sugar regulation, it supports fatty acid balance, it supports endocrine function, it supports cardiovascular health, it supports brain and nervous function, and detoxification, and maintaining a healthy weight, and so much more. So sleep is incredibly important for our health. Aim to get at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night, and keep in mind, if you are at your rock bottom, you may need more sleep than that. When I was at my rock bottom, I slept like 11 to 12 hours at night, and I would take naps. And I will say it was really hard to allow myself that time to sleep, but it was incredibly important at that time. Now I sleep closer to 8 hours a night and I don't need naps. So if you struggle with sleep, I do have a whole video and article all about how to improve your sleep. It's all kinds of tips and ideas on how to improve your sleep, and I will put a link down below for that. Next, AIP lifestyle factor is movement. So movement is so incredibly important when it comes to optimal health and wellness, especially autoimmune health and wellness. So movement can be a tricky one because it can feel like, no, Shanna, I don't think so. My body feels like it's dying right now. I can't move it. I can't exercise. Like, what are you thinking? I was there. I understand. You know, and this one can be such a hard one too, especially when we go from someone who's really, really active doing, you know, high intensity workouts or marathons or all the things, and then losing our health and going from that to not being able to hardly walk up the stairs. I was there, I went from that to that. What worked so well for me is just getting outside and starting just to walk. And I would walk at a snail's pace slowly around our block, and I built from there. I remember one time I couldn't even make it halfway around. I sat on the curb and my husband had to go get his truck and come pick me up. Please know that as much as now I walk almost 4 miles a day, I'm biking with my kids, I'm snowboarding, I'm doing so much, I didn't get back here overnight. It took time, and I still struggle with high intensity workouts. I still struggle when I try to start lifting weights again, and that's something that I am working through, and I'm excited to be able to share more about as my journey progresses. So Shanna, why is movement so important? Good question. So movement supports our brain and nervous system, it supports hormone health, it supports inflammation reduction, it supports lymph movement, it supports bones, joints, and muscles, it supports cardiovascular health, it supports digestion, supports blood sugar regulation and metabolic function, and so much more. So movement is so incredibly important. Remember to take it as slow as you need to. Also be mindful if you're not at your rock bottom, if you're just trying to figure out how to live better with autoimmunity, please keep in mind that we're all different, that the kind of movement that feels best for me may look different than the kind of movement that feels best for you. Also, be mindful of how you feel after intense workouts. Take note of any symptoms that creep up either during the workout, right after the workout, or hours later. I know for me, I would feel okay during my intense workouts or during weightlifting. It would be the hours after, the afternoon after, that my symptoms would trigger. That would be mindful of keeping a lifestyle journal, a movement journal, so that you can identify how you're feeling and what kind of movement feels best for you. So just a few quick tips to get moving. Set boundaries on your schedule, prioritize movement, and set aside time for movement. Schedule that time with yourself. So what are some ideas for movement? Walking, yoga. Yoga with Adrian has free yoga videos. Down Dog app is a great resource. Biking or Pilates. Also think outside the box, like housework totally counts, gardening totally counts. Playing catch with your kids totally counts. Going on a bike ride with your kids totally counts. Building a fort and playing with your kids totally counts. So if you struggle with movement, make it fun. Next AIP lifestyle tip, you can probably guess, getting out in nature, which is, well, the reason why I'm filming out here in my backyard. We moved from Southern California last year up to beautiful mountains in Utah. I love getting out in nature every single day. So why is it important that we spend time in nature, and what does it have to do with health and wellness? I'm gonna read you a quote. This is by Dr. Sarah Ballantyne from the Paleo Approach. She says this: "Studies show that the sights, sounds, smells, and textures of the outdoors all have positive effects on the body and the brain. This includes being in wilderness type nature, such as going on a walk in the woods, sitting on the beach and watching waves, but also tamed nature, like sitting in a tranquil garden, or looking at an amazing view of the mountains from a balcony. Even walking in your backyard in your bare feet can decrease stress and impart a feeling of peace." So one thing I want to emphasize about AIP Lifestyle is all the factors relate to each other. So even if we're just focusing on one of the AIP Lifestyle factors, chances are it's going to improve another one. For example, if we focus on getting out in nature, it's going to decrease our stress. And that in turn can have a positive effect on our sleep, because reducing stress is going to support better blood sugar regulation, which in turn has the potential to improve the quality of our sleep. On the other hand, improving our sleep can have a positive impact on decreasing our stress, because when we get more sleep, we may feel more equipped to handle life's challenges. We may feel more grounded. We may have more energy to do the things that we need to be able to do in order to manage our stress, in order to set the boundaries. Next AIP lifestyle tip is connection. So living with autoimmunity can feel so lonely. Many of us try to hide our symptoms at first because we don't know what's going on. It can take years or a decade for a diagnosis. We may not know anybody else who struggles with autoimmunity. We may not even know what autoimmunity is at first. We may not know anybody else struggling with chronic illness. And so it can feel very isolating when we see our family members or our friends living life and doing things that we struggle to do. It can feel very isolating. Likewise, when we start our AIP journey, it can feel very lonely when we're eating in a way that nobody else we know eats, and we may be judged by the way that we're eating. We may be surrounded by people who don't understand the food choices that we're making, and they think that nutrition and lifestyle don't matter, or maybe they feel threatened because we're changing and they feel like they need to change, but they're not ready to, or it can just be any other number of reasons. Please understand the importance of talking to a trusted friend, talking to a trusted family member, to our spouses, letting them in. I know in particular autoimmune disease can wreak havoc on a marriage. I know that firsthand. My husband sat down and actually did a couple YouTube videos with me answering questions that you guys had for him from a husband's perspective. So I will link those. I know that they've been really helpful for other husbands who struggle to see their wives live with autoimmunity. Please know that we have an amazing online supportive community. There's so many Instagram accounts and websites and so many of us who are sharing our stories and speaking up and saying this is nothing to be ashamed of, that we are not victims, that this is happening for us, not to us, that we can learn to live well with autoimmunity, that we can learn to find joy while living with autoimmunity, that yes, there will be ups and there will be downs and there will be in-betweens, and that we can find joy while we learn to live well with autoimmunity. And so please reach out. Please stay close to people who feel like sunshine. Please know I'm here for you. You can email me or DM me, connect with me on Instagram, on Facebook, on my website, here on YouTube. I am here for you. I've got your back. You are not alone. I created an amazing AIP online course with a group coaching program where we get to connect and we have a support page. I know it can be so hard to open up and to talk to our family and friends about things that we don't feel like they understand, but I can't emphasize enough the importance of reaching out to them, of explaining to them what we're feeling, because they don't know, they don't have a frame of reference, they haven't experienced what we're experiencing. Please keep in mind, they love us, they want to help, they may just not know how. With that said, if you have a family member or a friend who's actively trying to derail your efforts, then you probably need to have an entirely different conversation and set some boundaries. The last AIP lifestyle factor that I briefly want to talk about is reducing toxins. Just a brief reminder on why it's so important that we reduce toxins. I'm talking about what we put on our skin, the makeup we use, what we clean our house with, what we use in the laundry, what we cook with, environmental toxins, what's in the air that we breathe, and more. Why is it important that we reduce toxins? There's a number of ways that toxins and toxic substances can interact with our body in a negative way. Some of these examples include oxidative stress, genotoxicity, epigenetic disruption, endocrine disruption, enzyme inhibition and disruption, and dysbiosis, and displacing structural minerals, and more. Please keep in mind that reducing toxins can feel overwhelming, and it can be like, where do I even start? Please keep in mind that we do not want to stress ourselves out. We do not want to increase our stress, right? But then that leads to all the issues that we talked about earlier. Please do not go through your house and your makeup bag and your skincare products and everything and throw everything out at once and buy replacements. Like, that's going to be expensive, that's going to be stressful, and that's going to be overwhelming. My recommendation is just as you run out of a product, replace it with a non-toxic alternative. I'll link down below to a few of my favorites. All right, so those are the AIP lifestyle factors. I encourage you just to choose one and to start working on that. Remember, progress over perfection. This is a journey. This is the beginning of the rest of your life. You have time. Please remember that breaking old habits and building new habits is hard. It takes time. Offer yourself a lot of love and support, and please know that I am cheering you on. I am sending you a lot of love and support. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe. I publish new videos every Wednesday. I hope you have an amazing week.